Hi, I'm Bryden Coverdale and I'm here with Ian Chappell to look back at the second day's play, Australia versus India at the MCG. Now, Ian, it's been a fairly hard day for Australia's bowlers and some good batting from India. What have you made of Australia's attack today and the wicket-taking ability?
Well, I think it's been a pretty good test match so far. The Australians, I think for long periods, bowled pretty well. Pattinson is the guy that's impressed me the most. I thought that he bowled extremely well. And the lead-up work to his taking Sehwag's wicket was very, very good. Beat him a few times, troubled him with some short pitch stuff, and finally got an errant shot from Sehwag that brought about his downfall. So the bowling was good for a long time. The problem is that they weren't tested by a really strong batting lineup with New Zealand. Plus, conditions were very much in the first two tests were very much in favour of the bowlers. Suddenly here you've got much better batting conditions and you've got a much stronger batting lineup. So this was always going to be a huge test for the Australian bowlers, and I guess it was indicative coming up against Dravid. Now Dravid had some periods where he really struggled. Once again, particularly Pattinson. Hilfenhaus, I thought, bowled pretty well. But Dravid has that ability to struggle through those tough periods and a period when he's really battling. And he comes out the other side and then suddenly plays some good shots. And then you had Tendulkar, who, before tea, playing purely for survival. He doesn't look the same sort of player. It doesn't look natural when he's doing that. Suddenly he comes out after tea and playing like the stroke maker that we know that he is, and he looks a far different player. So this was always going to be the big test for the Australian attack. I think of the bowlers, probably certainly Pattinson the best, and I think Siddle has bowled some very good spells as well.
And it's probably easy with hindsight, but given the Indian batting lineup and that Australia's bowlers haven't been tested, was there more of a case for including the all-rounder, do you think? Or?
I really think that four bowlers are going to do most of the bulk of the work. A place where I think you might need five bowlers is Adelaide. I've always thought Adelaide is the ideal, is the classic place for three quickies and two spinners. So perhaps the all-rounder there. I think it was the right way to go, but they may find now with this Indian batting lineup, if they're in good form in Australia, then maybe they do have to think about the five bowlers. But I think it was the right move coming into the Melbourne Test.
And earlier today and yesterday, India's bowling lineup had been spoken about as being their weakness. Were you impressed with how they performed?
I think the good news for India, as far as the bowling was concerned, I expected Yadav to do quite well here, and he's been impressive. But I think the really big news for India was the form of Zahir, and particularly the second morning, because he bowled a lot the first day, and I thought he got better and better as he went along, particularly that spell where he picked up the 2 wickets in a row. The delivery to Hussey, suddenly he looked like he'd turned back the clock 10 years. But he then, at the end of the day, he was looking pretty stiff and sore in the field, and I thought it's going to be interesting to see how he comes up on the second day. Well, the way that he bowled on the second morning was just brilliant, and that's fantastic news for India, because if he's in form, if he's fit, he makes a huge difference to that bowling attack. And I think the way he bowled on the second morning is the best news that India could have had.
And what about Ashwin? He probably didn't have as much of an impact as he might on some other wickets.
I thought he bowled extremely well, and the fact that he got quite a lot of turn in Melbourne is impressive. And also, I like the way that he finished off the innings, particularly the way he got rid of Hilfenhaus. It was smart bowling, it was brave bowling. And that's what you want. He tossed it in the air, but it wasn't just the fact that he flighted the ball. He flighted it wide of off stump, basically saying to Hilfenhaus, if you want to belt it in the air, you're going to have to drag it from wide outside off stump. That's what caused him to miss hit it, and he got the wicket, and then he polished off line at the end. So I think India must be feeling a lot happier after that first innings with the way their attack has performed. I think they've done pretty well.
And just finally, on Australia's batting yesterday and into today, Ed Cowan certainly played a test-style innings. What did you make of the way the rest of the top order and middle order played?
I think they would have been disappointed to have got into a strong position, and particularly when the hard work obviously was first thing with the overcast conditions. Once the sun came out, you looked at the pitch and you thought, this is a pretty decent pitch, and Australia had got themselves into a strong position. So I think they would have been disappointed to have that bit of a middle order collapse. Then they got out of strife and got a reasonable score. But if the Indian batsmen can build up a decent first innings lead, then I see a bit of trouble ahead for Australia.
Ian Chappell, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure, mate.